Hi, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Happening. And this night is kind of a special one for me. I'm going back a long way to my folk roots. And I hope you all have been enjoying what we've been doing. And thank you so much for your generous donations, especially at this time in the world. Things are not getting a heck of a lot better in terms of the situation with the pandemic. I just looked at the news today, and Illinois had 3,000 new cases. That's a really terrible number to see. So the more you donate to our cause, the more hungry, out of work people are going to be able to eat. Yeah, it's a grim reality, but that's the truth of the matter. So tonight, my folk roots, I started listening to folk music probably when I was like 13 or 14 years old. When I went to summer camp, one summer there was a guy who played fingerstyle guitar, did that finger picking and sang all these folk songs. And we got to be pretty good friends, and he turned me on to a whole world of stuff that I was only very peripherally aware of. This was back around 1966 probably, so maybe I was 15. And there was one album in particular on Elektra Records. It was called Folk Song 65. And I got that album, and it was like a sampler of all these different people that I had, most of whom I had never heard of. And I really liked a lot of it. So I started to become much more aware of all these great, they didn't call them singer-songwriters at the time, but all these great singer-songwriters, and of course Bob Dylan is the most famous of them. And then I moved to Chicago after going to Northwestern University for a few years and moving back to New York and then back to Chicago. And after a few years, I started to have a career. And one of the things I fell into was the folk scene here, which was really amazing. There were so many really talented people singing and playing in all these clubs all over Chicago and all over this area of the country. You know, the Chicago, greater Chicago area up through Wisconsin and into Iowa. There was a whole circuit that people played. Famous clubs like the Earl of Old Town, and later on Amazing Grace in Evanston, and The Quiet Night, and Harry Hope's, and Juicy John Pink's, and Charlotte's Web in Rockford. By great good fortune, I happened to fall in with Steve Goodman, fellow Evanstonian, one of the nicest people I've ever met. I mean, he was just one of these guys who, if he liked you, you were his friend. He even lent me his car one time when I had to go to a friend's wedding, and my car wouldn't start in the middle of one of those incredibly cold Chicago winters where it was way below zero. And he hadn't known me that long, and he just said, "Howard, you have to go to your buddy's wedding. Here's the keys to my Volvo." His dad was a car dealer. Yeah, just that's the kind of guy he was. You'd come over to his house and he'd cook you a meal, and you'd listen to records and play music. So he hired me and a whole bunch of other guys from a band called Swing Shift and some additional people, including the great Jethro Burns, to be his touring band. This was probably 1977. And every show that we did, we opened with this song, and the audience would just love it. You know, there's no better feeling than walking on stage when you hit your first notes and thousands of people start cheering. You know, this is a nice feeling, you know. So it's Steve's most famous song, and he wrote so many good songs. And for all of you who are not familiar with him, he died young. He was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 19, and it came back to bite him really hard in his mid-30s. And I played at his the memorial concert for Steve. And actually, the record won a Grammy. It was all of these people from the music world, all these people who loved him, because to know him was to love him, really. Bonnie Raitt and Arlo Guthrie, who had a big hit with this song, and David Amram and Richie Havens. Oh God, I can't even remember all the people who were there. But I was in the house band, and I played piano. I don't know if I even played harmonica. So, yeah, that Steve Goodman Memorial album, very special, and he was a very special guy. So, I'd like to sing this one for you. It's one of the great train songs anyone ever wrote. And, you grow up in the Midwest, there's a lot of trains around. But it's about more than trains. It's about America, and it's about things changing and certain things that are fading, maybe shouldn't be, like the railroad system. And Arlo had a big hit with it, and then later Willie Nelson had a big hit with it after Steve passed. So here it is. Riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central Monday morning rail. 15 cars and 15 restless riders, 3 conductors, 25 sacks of mail. All along the southbound Odyssey, the train pulls out of Kankakee and rolls past houses, farms, and fields, passing trains that have no name, and freight yards full of old black men, and the graveyards of rusted automobiles. Singing, good morning, America, how are you? Don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles before day is done. Dealing card games with the old men in the club car. Penny a point, ain't no one keeping score. Oh, pass that paper bag that holds the bottle, and feel the wheels rumbling beneath the floor. And the sons of Pullman porters and the sons of engineers ride their daddy's magic carpet made of steel. And mothers with their babes asleep, rocking to that gentle beat, and the rhythm of the rails is all they feel. Good morning, America, how are you? Don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles before day is done. Nighttime on the city of New Orleans, changing cars in Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, we're halfway home, we'll be there by the morning. Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. But all the towns and people seem to fade into a bad dream, and the steel rail still ain't heard the news. The conductor sings his songs again. The passengers will please refrain, 'cause this train's got the disappearing railroad blues. Good night, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles before day is done. Oh, once again, good night, America, how are you? Oh, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles before day is done. Yeah, Steve could write some songs. Yeah, for all of you who are not familiar with Steve Goodman, just go look up all the great music he's written. Banana Republics was a great one. He wrote an incredible song about his dad, when his dad passed. That it's both makes you laugh and cry at the same time. Oh, it was a privilege to know him, and he introduced me to John Prine, and out of that, I ended up touring with John for 2 years, and cut 2 albums with him, one that Steve produced called Bruised Orange, which was wonderful, and another one called Pink Cadillac that we did down at Sam Phillips' studio in Memphis, and I could write a short essay, a long essay and a short book about that, or it could be made into a feature-length motion picture. That was an adventure. And after that, I came back to Chicago and started playing in all different kinds of bands, jazz groups, and with folk people like Bonnie Coloc. I actually started playing with her and continued doing that for at least 25 years. And Latin groups and swing bands and the Balkan Rhythm Band, which was kind of a folky, jazzy thing. But I also started doing a lot of recordings for artists who were on the Flying Fish label and on the Rounder record label. Those were the 2 biggest folk music recording labels. And I am very proud to say that I recorded 2 albums with Tom Paxton. Now, Tom is just one of the, I don't think he's ever written a bad song. And he's written hundreds of them. His repertoire is huge. And recording with him was a joy. He was so calm. You know, he would never make a mistake. And if we made a mistake, he said, oh, let's start over again. He would play perfectly. He never sang a wrong word. Yeah, it was just amazing, and just a sweetheart of a person. And this is one of those early songs that when my friend Marty turned me on to folk music way back when, this is one of the songs, the first songs I heard, and it's just a beauty. Yeah, it's called, I forgot what it's called. Oh yes, it's called The Last Thing on My Mind. Of course, it was the last thing on my mind. That's why I forgot it. It's a lesson too late for the learning, made of sand, made of sand. In the wink of an eye, my soul is turning in your hand, in your hand. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind? I could have loved you better, didn't mean to be unkind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. You've got reasons aplenty for going. This I know, this I know. For the weeds have been steadily growing. Please don't go, please don't go. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind? I know I could have loved you better, didn't mean to be unkind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. as I lie in my bed in the morning without you, without you. Every song in my breast dies a-born without you, without you. Are you going away with no word of farewell? Will there be not a trace left behind? I could have loved you better, didn't mean to be unkind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. You know that was the last thing on my mind. Yeah. I just did that a little differently. I just felt that, that it was solemn. It's kind of heartbreaking, really. I didn't realize it until I started singing it. Just how heartbreaking that song is. I've been the sideman for so many folk artists. I never sang with any of them. Well, Kenny Loggins, he sort of qualifies, and he had me sing a little bit on the Outside from the Redwoods album, just as a little bit of comic relief to hear my low voice after all those perfect vocal harmonies that he had with everyone else in the band. But, I sat there and I accompanied, by feeling. And I would hear all the words, and I knew all the words, but it's different when you're singing the words yourself. You feel things differently from the way you feel as an instrumental accompanist. So here's one by a guy that I never met and never played with. And he was kind of the, I don't even know what to call him, kind of a prophet and a mystical force for my generation, because his lyrics, some of them were very direct and some of them were very indirect and abstract, and people spent a lot of time sitting around going, I wonder what Bob Dylan meant. What did he mean by that line? What did he mean by this line? What did he mean by this song? What's he really trying to say? And he kind of established some personal mystique too. He didn't really want people to know, and his manager didn't want people to know. It's just, he thought, let's keep Bob Dylan kind of mysterious. And his name, of course, was Bob Zimmerman, and he's from northern Minnesota, but he named himself after Dylan Thomas. He picked a pretty good poet to model himself after, and now there's all these kids running around with the first name of Dylan, and Dylan was not a real common name in America before Bob Dylan came around. So he just made a huge impact, and I listened to his albums a lot. And even though, obviously, I'm not a fan of his harmonica playing, I'm a fan of him because he's a musical force. So this is one of the first songs I probably heard of his, and he probably was a teenager when he wrote this. He had already made his pilgrimage to New York, maybe, to visit with Woody Guthrie, and maybe he had played at the Newport Folk Festival. I don't know if he had played there yet, but he just accompanies himself on guitar on this recording, and I had a different take on it. It ain't no use to to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If you don't know by now, when your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and baby, I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Oh, don't think twice, it's all right. It ain't no use in turning on your light, babe. That light I never knowed. It ain't no use in turning on your light, babe. Oh, let me say it again. Yeah, you know why? 'Cause I'm on the dark side of the road. I wish there was something you would do or say to try to make me change my mind, and stay. But we never did too much talking anyway. Oh, don't think twice, it's all right. I'm thinking and wondering, walking down the road. I once loved a woman, a child untold. I gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul, and I didn't want to give it to her. Just don't think twice, it's all right. So long, honey, baby. So long, babe. Where I'm bound, I cannot tell. But goodbye's is too good a word. Goodbye is too good a word. So I'll just say, fare thee well. I ain't saying that you treated me unkind. You could have treated me better, but I don't mind. Oh, you just kind of wasted my precious time, babe. But don't think twice. Don't think twice. Don't think twice, it's all right. Oh, yeah. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. I kind of had some fun doing that. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to go walk over to Studio B. You know, we have many studios here at Levy Land Studios, and we film major motion pictures in here. None of them have been released yet, but that'll be next. So, oh, in honor of my folk roots. I love the mandolin, and sometimes it loves me back. Maybe not right now, but in honor of the tradition of Prairie Home Companion, which is a radio show that I played on, I don't know how many times, 50 times, 60 times over the years. Garrison Keillor would always read notes from the audience halfway through, and I thought that was a beautiful thing. And sometimes Rich Dworsky would play softly on piano. So I'm going to do the same thing, play softly on the mandolin. Mark Schlossberg, you finally made it on time. That's because we started late. Hey, Eileen. Good night, Eileen. Thanks a lot for coming, Margaret. Magumi, I wish I could see it a little better. I'm sitting real far from the screen. I wish it was a little bigger. Hey, Mad Cat. Oh, man, you're a folkie too. I know, we're all folkies. You know what Big Bill Brunzi said? He said, it's all folk music. I never heard a horse that could sing. I love that. Ah, Geraldo, you were early this time. So you sat around and waited, just like for a Chevrolet rehearsal. Thank you, Aaron from Madrid. I'm blowing your mind again. I'm happy that I am. Say, Seth, thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, Lewis, thanks for the weekly concert. Missing live music so much. So am I, my friend. This is my only live music experience because I'm at least playing for an audience. All the rest of it, it's live, but it's only me and my wife. Buzz Krantz, Chicago in the house. All right, man. Thanks for tuning in, Buzz. Kitty, are we waiting to go live? We were, yes. And now we are. Kristen, folk roots in the house. Yes, sirree. Kristen Lemons, who is a very fine singer-songwriter herself from Evanston. Hey, Melissa. Melissa and Michael in Atlanta. Love back to you. Oh, thank you, Sonia, down in Tuscaloosa, I believe. Chugga, 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 toot, toot from Norval, Kennedy. Yeah. I'll play a little train music later. Oh, Margie Goldsmith wrote a wonderful book about harmonica. Look it up under her name. Thank you, Margie. Yeah, I actually like singing, but usually it takes place in the shower. Hey, Buzz, glad you like it. Oh, Sonia, you've ridden on the city of New Orleans. Wow. Yeah, that's Chicago to Mississippi. Oh, yeah, you would have. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Mad Cat, we were both playing along with Steve Goodman. That's where we met. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow. At Amazing Grace, one of the Chicago, Evanston's greatest club ever. It only lasted for a short amount of time, but it made a big impact. Yes, Steve Goodman did write the Cubs fight song, Go Cubs Go. Go Cubs Go, go Cubs go. Hey Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. That's too low. It's too low. Go Cubs go. Hey Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Of course, he put a Bo Diddley beat to it because Steve loved every kind of music. My God, I'll tell the story about him and Martin Bogan and Armstrong sometime. He hired me to play on a recording session with them, and that was one of the fantastic experiences I had. Yes, I'm looking at the right camera. What do I know? I'm just an ignorant musician. Oh, Graham. Oh, hey. Love that song. Oh, great hearing me sing it. Thank you so much. Hey, Roberta, nice to hear my voice. Yeah, I don't let it out of the throat too often in a vocal way. Uh, yeah, John, Steve Goodman, John Prine. What can you say about those two? I mean, John was one of the greatest writers in the history of the English language. I really believe so. His words are unlike anyone else's ever. Bob Bless, yeah, how to put a smile on your face. Listen to Howard. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you so much from way down in Perth, Australia. Chris Sampson, go Howard. Thank you, my friend. Oh, thank you, T.S. Henry Webb. Thank you very much. One of the veterans of Chicago music scene, a very original musician. Thank you. Thanks, Geraldo and Roberta. Okay, maybe just read another one. Liz, okay. And Megumi and Luke and Luciano Antonio. Now that's a real singer. You know, I'm an imposter. Oh, really nice to hear me sing. Thank you, man. I'll try to do it more often so that my throat doesn't fall apart halfway through. Rich Daniels, thank you so much, man. One of Chicago's great band leaders. John Rice, oh man, one of Chicago's great musicians. Oh, yeah, we've played a lot of music together over the years. I could sit here and just read these notes. It's very heartwarming to me to hear from all of you. And I think it's time for me to put away the mandolin. Before my calluses leave my hand. So I'm going to migrate back to the piano. All right. Well, you know, what show about folk music would be complete without a reference to Pete Seeger? Now Pete Seeger, for those of you who don't know who Pete Seeger was, I can't even begin to explain how important this man was. As a singer, as a writer of songs, as a sort of galvanizing force for the entire folk music movement, amazing singer. And he introduced the banjo, the 5-string banjo, to folk music. And he redesigned the banjo to make the neck longer. He did all sorts of stuff. And he also, one of the greatest things that he did, whoops, what did I do? What am I going to play? Oh yeah, I have to turn the piano sound on. This Steinway, you know, has buttons on it. So Pete is almost single-handedly responsible for cleaning up the pollution in the Hudson River. And some of you might not know that, but he had a sailing ship, the sloop Clearwater, and he would travel all up and down the length of the river and do concerts. And he did this at his own expense, my friends. And he raised money and raised public awareness. And after he did this for about 10 or 15 years, I don't know how many years, finally, politicians started getting it into their head that maybe this was an important thing to do, to clean up one of America's great rivers. And thanks to Pete's efforts, you can now fish in the Hudson River and eat what you catch. And that had not been true probably for 50 or 60 years before he did that. So my hat is off to him. He also suffered needlessly at the hands of of McCarthy in the 1950s. He was blacklisted for being a communist, and it really hurt his career terribly after a while. And it's one of the great injustices ever done to a great musical force. Now, later in his life, Paul Winter, who is probably the originator of what we call New Age music, and the Paul Winter Consort, was an amazing band that featured so many great musicians, including my friends Glenn Velez and Eugene Friesen, that are in Trio Global with me, and Ralph Towner, and many great percussionists. It was the sort of the genesis of the band Oregon also. Yeah, Paul is a very important person in world music, in the world of music. And he actually was at Northwestern for a while, studying saxophone, because he was a jazz saxophone player. And he found his own voice and established this new genre of music. one of the things that was assigned to him was somehow or other producing an album of Pete Seeger. And he visualized the concept of just get Pete to sit down with his banjo and sing. And then he would add people to some of the tracks later. And one of these tracks is one that I played on. It's an old song by Leroy Carr, the old blues piano player, and Big Bill Brunzi. They're both credited with writing the words. It's just a blues, but it's a particularly good one. It's called In the Evening When the Sun Goes Down. When I got this recording, I thought, oh boy, I'm so excited to be playing harmonica with Pete Seeger. Of course, I did it at my house. They didn't want to fly me to New York. And I put it on. The format at the time, I believe, was an 8-act. And I'm standing up, all ready to play my harmonica bluesy. And it was sort of laid back, because Pete was sitting by himself, and there was a bass player and drummer who overdubbed, but the time was kind of wandering a little bit, and there was this gospel chorus. It was beautiful. It was a little tricky to play. So then I sat down, and I tried playing again. But I was still too aggressive. I said, maybe I ought to turn the lights down. I'm still too aggressive. I said, maybe, I think I need a drink. So I got a little shot of bourbon, and then I could play. So through great good fortune and wonderful coincidence, and the fact that this is a beautiful record, this album called Pete, which I hope you're looking at a slide of right now, he was nominated for Grammy in folk music category in 1996. And I also was there at the Grammy Awards at Madison Square Garden that year because the Flecktones were nominated for a Grammy for a live version of The Sinister Minister, which I played on. And of course, we didn't expect to win. I mean, we were up against Stevie Wonder and Smashing Pumpkins and all these other groups in the instrumental music category. But I have to tell you, I mean, we did win, and it was an amazing thrill. But an even bigger thrill was seeing Pete Seeger stand up. They had him standing by himself with his banjo, singing in the middle of Madison Square Garden, and the whole place gave him a standing O. This is the pre-telecast part. This is the part where the real music happens a lot on the Grammys. Everyone there knew who Pete was. It was so heartwarming to me, and I'm proud that I did my little fills on harmonica on this song, In the Evening. In the evening, baby, when the sun goes down. In the evening, when the sun goes down. Ain't it lonesome, ain't it lonesome, ain't it lonesome, when your baby's not around, when the sun goes down, when the fun is over, and the liquor's all gone dry. You start to thinking that a man is born to die. In the evening, when the sun goes down, when the sun goes down. Yeah, tell him about it. You know the sun rises in the east and it sets down in the west. The sun rises in the east and it sets down in the west. Oh, it's hard to tell, it's hard to tell, it's hard to tell which one will love you the best when the sun goes down. Oh yeah. Well, goodbye, goodbye, my old sweethearts and pals. I'm going away, but I'll be back to see you all again some old rainy day. In the evening, when the sun goes down, when the sun goes down. Yeah, when the sun goes down. And that, that was a very poignant thing to hear Pete sing, because he was getting older and the sun was going down for him, Well, suddenly the screen in front of me is black, and I was taking some cues off it, so I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but I do want to connect this last tune that I played to the next tune that I played, because there is a connection. And sometimes, when you're planning one of these concerts, you don't even realize the connections between the music when you're picking songs at random. But there are definitely connections between these two songs, because the next tune I'm going to play it's the first tune that anyone who learns how to play fingerstyle guitar learns how to play, the finger picking. Because this tune was written by a black woman named Elizabeth Cotton. And apparently she wrote it when she was just 11 or 12 years old. She was a naturally talented musician. And I can't remember where she was from, if it was in North Carolina or Mississippi. I honestly don't remember. Virginia. But her life took her in many different ways. Music was not to be her career. And she ended up working in a department store in Washington, D.C. And there was a family shopping in the store one day, and their little girl got lost. And those big stores, and a little kid lost is a scary thing for a parent. The parents were frantic with worry. Well, it turns out that Elizabeth Cotton, she found this lost little girl. And they made an announcement. Obviously, the parents had come up to some desk somewhere expressing their anxiety. And she found her and brought her back to her parents. And her parents were Ruth Crawford Seeger and her husband, whose name I can't remember. Now, Ruth Crawford Seeger was a very famous American woman classical composer. And Pete was one of her sons. And they were just so grateful to this woman that they offered her a job in their house. They were a well-to-do family. And so Elizabeth Cotton quit the job in the department store and went to work for the Seeger family. And one day, she just picked up one of the guitars that was lying around and started playing it. And one of the family members walked in, and all of them were musicians. There was Mike Seeger and Peggy Seeger. I met all of them over the years at folk festivals in various places where I was performing. They were all amazing people. And one of them walked in the room and said, "Wow." And she went, "Oh, I'm sorry, I picked up your guitar." They said, "No, keep playing." And no one knew that she played the guitar. And she was playing all this great music that she had written and that she had played when she was a girl. And they said, "Well, the world has to hear you." And so she started her music career in her late 50s. and recorded albums for Folkways, I believe, and maybe for the Smithsonian. I don't even know, and did tours, and everybody learns this tune, Freight Train. And I'm not going to pick it on the guitar. I'm going to pick it on the harmonica. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back after I finish Freight Train. And thanks so much to all of you for tuning in for these past 9 weeks. And it's been a joy, and I'm so proud that we've been able to raise money for this incredible cause of feeding those who can't afford to buy food, the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Freight Train. Freight train, going so fast. Freight train, going so fast. Please don't tell them what train I'm on, so they won't know where I've gone. When I die, please bury me deep, way at the end of Bleecker Street, so I can hear old number 9 when she goes walking by. So all good things must come to an end, and our show has come to an end tonight. But if you want to watch this one and past shows, you can watch them at levyland.com. Sometimes there's typos and it comes out wrong when we type it up there, but it's Levyland, Levyland. And that's because there's another Howard Levy who took howardlevy.com. So we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Wait a minute. No, it's not that time yet. But we're really, really happy that so many of you have tuned in. And once again, I encourage you to reach into your pockets and make a generous donation to the Greater Chicago Food Depository, our wonderful cause. And we just love doing this, and stay in touch. Check out, we're going to leave this video up on Facebook for another day, probably, something like that. And just really, we love you, and see you soon. Bye.